All right, Alexander, let's do a follow-up to the EU deal that has been agreed upon, the EU Recovery Fund. Let's see. 750 billion rescue fund and a total 1.1 trillion EU budget. You'll get into the details, Alexander. Pretty much there was dispute about whether to have the money doled out in loans or grants. And at the end of the day, they kind of decided on pretty much a 50-50 split. Let me find the number. Actually, 360 billion in loans, 390 in grants to aid COVID recovery across Europe. All right. Okay, great. So let's see. Where do I start? From zero hedge. Is the EU project now too big to succeed? The real interesting line in this story is this morning's agreement is another step in the EU's slow and painful path towards a federal Europe. I totally agree with that, especially the slow and painful part. And we have from CNBC, which reports that EU leaders reach a 2 trillion deal on recovery plan after a marathon summit. The key line that I got from this is under the heading in the article called taxation, all the way on the bottom, taxation. European governments will have to find new financial resources to repay some of the additional debt, and this includes new taxes. All right. And a lot of this...
Some of the additional debt, or all of the additional debt. Yeah. That's the nature of this debt. Unless they're going to get the European Central Bank to print money and print more euros to buy it. I mean, this is what we've come to. Now, it's exactly, in a way, if you go back to our earlier video and our videos preceding this, it's exactly what we've been saying. First of all, this is not a EU recovery fund. Let's bury that notion. I mean, it's nothing to do with recovery from the pandemic recession. The money involved, if you take this thing seriously, is nowhere near enough for that. What it is, it's two things. Firstly, a major step towards debt mutualization, which is to say that EU institutions, the central institutions of the EU, are now going to be able to raise money by borrowing on the international financial markets. The very thing that treaties prohibit, that various courts around the European Union have said is impossible, and which Merkel promised would never happen. Well, sure enough, it's now happened. She agreed it. She's railroaded it through, along with Macron. It's taking place. So all that thing about it never happening, it's now hot air. And as you absolutely rightly said in your introduction, that is a major step towards federalization. A major step towards federalization. Note, agreed by none of the people. There's never been a vote on it. No referendum's been held on it. This is a radical change in the treaties. The people around the European Union were told that the treaties mean one thing, and now the next day they mean something completely different, and there's been no democratic consultation, none of that at all. And the other thing about it is that, of course, it's a gigantic slush fund, which is what we've always been saying. It's a marvelous way of doling out money to various favored clients around the European Union in order to consolidate the Central European elite. The European elite at the center. And can I just say, I was very interested to see Ambrose Evans-Pritchard in the Daily Telegraph. Perhaps he follows the Duran, because he also finally called it what it is, which is a slush fund. And look at how it's been obtained. The Dutch, the so-called frugal four, they've all been given rebates. So they're not going to have to contribute so much to the EU. So that's a bribe to them. The Central Europeans, the Orban-Kaczynski axis, they've been given more funding too. So it's a bribe to them. Bribes all over the place with your money and my money, because we're both taxpayers in the EU, even though I'm, I live in Britain. I pay taxes in Greece because I have property there. You have property in Cyprus. You pay taxes there. So all of us, every one of us who is a citizen of this EU is now going to be paying more taxes to support EU lending EU borrowing on the financial markets, which is going to be circulating around the EU to various privileged people who are going to be pocketing all this money, and in the form of the slush fund. And please note, nothing to do with the pandemic. Not only are the sums involved far too small for that, but they only start getting paid out next year, when the worst of this crisis will be over. So it's a slush fund, it's a bribe, it's also a major revision of the treaties. What Angela Merkel promised the German people would never happen, and it's been done without any consultation with the larger European population at all.
Yeah, here's from CNBC. This is how bad it's going to be. This is how bad it's going to be. The deal states that there should be a non-recycled plastic waste levy introduced as of January 1st, 2021, non-recycled plastic waste levy, and that a carbon border adjustment mechanism and a digital duty should be in place by January 1st, 2023. The latter represents almost a 2-year delay from what an earlier proposal suggested in terms of digital taxation. And from Prime Minister Mitsotakis in Greece. Now I'm going to single out Mitsotakis because I am in Greece, so I found some quotes from him. I'm sure people living in Italy and Spain and Portugal and other EU countries that may think they're going to be benefiting from this recovery fund could pull up some quotes. Let me focus on Mitsotakis. Quote, "Today we have managed a very ambitious response, a response which responds to the symmetrical shock which the pandemic has triggered in all economies," Mitsotakis said. He said the funds would be dispersed carefully in Greece and with meticulous planning. Quote, "We have no intention of spreading the money around with the carefree attitude of the nouveau riche," Mitsotakis said. "We have no intention of wasting this significant European capital now at our disposal. We will invest it to the benefit of all Greeks." I got this from ikathemerini.com and Reuters, so it's a reliable source. All right, famous last words.
Well,
famous last words before this slush fund gets doled out to the globalists, to the nouveau riche,
exactly.
to the politicians, and doesn't see €1 of that money going to everyday citizens.
Well, of course it doesn't. I mean, first of all, there isn't anywhere near enough money to make a real difference to the Greek economy or the Italian economy or the Spanish economy, and it's certainly not intended for the people of those countries. And bear in mind, some of this money is going to be spent in Germany, because that's one of the things Merkel always made certain of. So certain German regions will be getting a cut from this money, and places in Central Europe, which have no particular problem because the pandemic never really hit there, they're going to be paid too. And of course, Mr. Mitsotakis protests altogether far too much when people say, it's going to be, spent very carefully and very gradually. Well, that tells you always, in my experience, the opposite. When people give you that kind of reassurance, and that's what they're going to do with your money, you can be absolutely sure that they're thinking the opposite. I would add something, which is that, of course, despite the fact that some of it is loans and some of it is grants, within this whole new package, there are various structures which also make perfectly clear that the people who will ultimately decide where this money goes is not Mr. Mitsotakis or Mr. Conte in Italy or the new government in Spain, all those people. It's going to be the people in Frankfurt and Brussels and Berlin who always ultimately make these decisions. So I'm afraid Mr. Mitsotakis is talking nonsense. I say that with regret, because he is the Prime Minister of Greece. My country as well as yours. We're both connected to Greece, and I would have thought better of him. But there we are. That's the nonsense that we're going to be hearing, and we're going to be hearing it an awful lot over the next few days. What this is, the other thing I wanted to just say, you were talking about all of these new taxes. Again, notice the trick that's been played. Climate taxes all over the place. Little things here, little things there. You increase taxes, but you don't. You try and justify it by claiming that it's all about climate change. I mean, does that remind you of anything? Does that bring the yellow vests in France to mind? because this is what that is all about too. I mean, it's all this is not really about raising taxes. Oh no such idea. That's nothing to do with it. This is all about, saving the climate, saving the planet. If it's all about taxes, of course it is. I mean, it's become so transparent now that it's just extraordinary that people just still won't see it as it really is. Well, of course, more and more people are seeing it as it really is, but there are still some people who cling to the fantasies about what this whole operation is all about.
They're not even trying to hide the stealing anymore. That's my take on it. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. This is a complete racket. This is a complete lose-lose for everybody, except for the people that are going to get this money.
Exactly.
Germany's going to lose. People in the Netherlands are going to lose. People in Greece are going to lose. People in Spain are going to lose. Everyone is going to lose except the people in the EU headquarters and all their buddies. That's the bottom line. We're all going to pay for this. And people in Germany and the Netherlands and Sweden and some of the countries that resisted this, the Frugal Four, that were playing all this theater of resisting this, debt mutualization. Everyone now is on the hook. Everyone is on the hook for the debt. Every single country is on the hook. Let that sink in, everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, of course, sooner or later, this is bound to blow. No taxation without representation. Our American viewers no doubt remember all of that. That is the situation we now have in Europe. We have no representation in all of this. Notice these taxes are not being levied directly. They're not, the European, it's not accountable taxes through the European Parliament or anything like that. Of course, that's inconceivable. That would never happen. These are taxes which are imposed by the European bureaucracy. That we have no vote in this, but it's going to be imposed on us in order to pay off this debt, which, as I said, is going to be recycled as a slush fund. And we're going to see more of this. Sooner or later, people will say stop. I mean, it's bound to happen. The European economy, meanwhile, loses its dynamism increasingly because it's saddled with a currency that doesn't work, and it's now going to be saddled with taxes. Little taxes here, little taxes there, all, as I said, dressed up as climate taxes, which will bleed the vitality out of the European economy. Some people, as Alex correctly says, are going to do extremely well of it. Most people are not. They have no say in it. Sooner or later, it will provoke a reaction. But that's sometime down the road.
Reminds me of California, where they just taxed it a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and now you don't even have plastic straws.
Exactly.
You have little paper straws because everything is prohibited, everything is taxed, the whole state is going to hell. This is where the EU is heading.
This is exactly where the EU is going. It's exactly the same direction. It's and of course a currency that is completely out of control, and a central bank that is completely out of control and accountable to no one.
Yep. And now we're all in it together. As
exactly.
The ship sinks, we're all going to sink. All of us.
Exactly. All of us. All of us.
German brothers, our Dutch brothers, our Hungarian brothers, our Spanish brothers, we're all going to sink together, folks.
Unless we make the decision, which is still open to us to do, to actually get out the lifeboats. I mean, if people decide to bail out, well, the British have done it. The British have done it. Others could do it. If they screw up the courage to do it, they can do it. But as I said,
look at how hard it was for the British, and they don't have the currency, and it was still
hard.
What a battle! Can you imagine a smaller country that's stuck in the euro currency trying to do what?
Well, Britain did. I know. I'm not saying. All I am saying is that option is, in theory, there. Whether there's the political will to do it is another question.
All right, we'll end it there, guys. If you like this video, click on that like, share this video with everybody you know. Please donate to us on PayPal, on Patreon, and on Subscribestar. Please donate. We need your help, and every donation really means a lot to us. So check us out on those donation platforms and go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merchandise. I've got the new Serbia magic mug.
I've got
a shirt which came. You got the UK, Alexander.
UK,
What else you got?
and I've got Australia here too. I've got Australia, and I've got little Greece. Well, I say little Greece. It's a small mug, but Greece is, in terms of its history, a huge country. Of course, our fantastic mugs, and we've got amazing new mugs, enamel mugs, which you can find in our shop. They are superb. We got our amazing shirts. Alex is wearing, I think one of the new shirts, or maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, but lots of amazing shirts coming out. They're just fabulous shirts, and we've got all kinds of amazing new products in our shop. And we've got new ebooks too coming out, the whole big expanding library of those. And of course, we've got things like hats, hoodies, stickers, whatever. You can find them in our shop. You can support the Duran by coming to the shop, buying these great things. And look how beautiful these mugs are. They're just amazing. They are the best mugs in the world. I say that without any qualification or doubt. So support the Duran, come to our shop, buy our amazing mugs, our phenomenal shirts, be the great owner of these things, and support the Duran also.
Go to the duranshop.com. You'll find a link in the description box down below. I love this mug. Really nice flag.
Absolutely.
Serbia has a nice flag.
Got a great flag, actually. Yeah.
Really pretty.
Great.
All right, guys. Take care.